Why? Once again, Shazadi, why do we fast? To do what? To make our nafs stronger? Huh? To tame our nafs. And where do we get this concept of taming the nafs? The story is simple. Allah created the nafs. And when He created the nafs, He said, who am I? And who are you? And He said, I am me, and you are you. Can you imagine? Telling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm me, you. We ain't got nothing to do with each other. So He took the nafs and He threw it into the fire. And He let it burn for a while. Then He brought the nafs out and He said, who am I and who are you? And the nafs looked at Him again and said, I am me and you are you. So He took the nafs and put them into the freezing cold. Tried to freeze them out, tortured them. Brought him back up and said, who am I and who are you? He said, I am me and you are you. Maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also was showing us that we should whip our belligerent children. So then He starved the nafs, gave him no food, no water. And He came to him and He said, who am I and who are you? He said, you are my Lord and I am your servant. And this is where we understand that the only way to control your nafs is to starve them out. Every nafs you have, take it away from food, take it away from water. What happens when you have a nafs towards sex? Can you go freeze your pecker? Throw it into the fire? Or is the only resolution just holding back from it? Just not doing it. Starve it out. You refrain from those things that are bad. That's the point. And in order to control the lower desires of your nafs, we control the desires of hunger and thirst. And this teaches us, because if you can control not eating, you should be able to control not stealing. You should be able to control not going out and laying with some dude or some woman. Those things are temporal and ironically carry less satisfaction than eating and drinking when you're hungry or you're thirsty. And so our Ramadan is about that. Our Ramadan is about teaching ourselves how to control our nafs. And I really don't want y'all to forget that the way that we do this, we use the opportunity of our nafs being lowered down, being under control, to get closer to Allah through extensive prayer. Remember, prayer is not always had its sujood and qiyam, but prayer is also almost primarily done with your constant dhikr throughout the day. How do you dhikr throughout the day? Somebody give me that concept. Is it always about running around saying subhanallah, alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar? How do you dhikr? You can say bismillah. How do you dhikr? Shazani. How do you dhikr just every day? How do you stay in constant dhikr? How do you stay in constant dhikr, Leon? I'm sorry, you talking to your back there about it. Turn your head. And you cover your face. And you cover your face. You say what? All right.
What about me?
Aaliyah, how do you dhikr?
Through work and through work. You either through work and helping others.
Constant perseverance in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's dhikr. When you walk your feet from here, when I walked this morning from here to that car to go to work, so that I can fulfill my duty, not to you, but to Allah, because you're my children, you're my wife, this is our home, and I have a responsibility to provide it. To Allah, that is dhikr. So, what is not dhikr when you walk and when you talk and when you move? It's all the other stuff. It's when you're talking about your nafs. It's when you're indulging in your nafs. It's when you go towards your nafs. All of that is not dhikr. All of that is a state of kufr.